So Alloy is a multiplayer competitive real-time strategy game about robots in an epic, gigantic scrap world competing for resources. And so the goal of the game is to build a robot army so that you can dominate the scrap land. The player starts out and they have a BuilderBot, and their first goal is to probably make some other robots. You have a magnet, and so you can turn this magnet on and like other pieces will get attracted to it, and then what you can do is you can gather up the pieces in your area, and to make a robot you have a power core, an AI, a locomotion of some type, and a tool. And depending on what 4 pieces you end up picking up will determine what kind of robot it is. Eventually you build an entire robot army, and if your army is bigger than the other players, you end up dominating the entire scrap world and you win.
Alloy has followed a very structured, industry standard production pipeline. We are addressing our production in terms of alpha, beta, and live release. And those are all happening in the second semester of our adventure. Last semester was committed to brainstorming, conceptualization, and then testing how we were going to make this game. That included art assets, tech assets, sound assets, and the communication assets. Those are, of course, the 4 different teams that we have. So for us, it's been a matter of learning and communicating to each other and figuring out what the best way is to make this happen on our own for the first time.
The game sounded very compelling. The idea of being able to have these robots that can go around and assemble other robots and work together is something that I just found to be very, very ambitious and very challenging, but also very interesting.
When we started talking about Alloy and wanting to make a video game for our senior project, we all really wanted to make sure that we were able to document the process. We started a blog, that we've developed a website, and that we're making this documentary. And those are all tools that we are going to use to make sure that after we're graduated and done with this project, that other students can use those tools and be able to make games of their own.
Alloy is available on alloyvideogame.com for free download. We are, however, accepting donations in honor of the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. If we can make a difference for children with type 1 diabetes, I'll consider this project successful.
Before the pipeline of Alloy, we treated it very much like an industry standard pipeline, where we go from concept to full completion of the model and animation, and then importing that model into our engine. What we ended up doing in the first semester of the project is coming up with initial concepts for the parts, environment pieces, bot concepts for the robot pieces, and figuring out how each of those pieces was to work in conjunction with one another.
It's really cool because what'll happen is I'll drop a piece, and a couple days later I'll see a low poly model of it that someone built, and a couple days after that I'll see that model textured. So it's starting to come to life, right? It's really cool. And then a couple days after that I'll just see it in the game. And it's amazing to me to see this thing that I drew that came out of the tip of my pencil end up being like an actual thing you can interact with.
The environment's going to be like really bright colors, bright rust and everything like that. So it's not necessarily like as a foreboding environment. The bots are like used to the environment and they exist in it.
We often use the reference of a coral reef to bring kind of a vibrance and life to the world that we were creating.
We chose to kind of make everything sort of childlike in a sense. So it's basically Fisher-Price with like a grungy, rusty exterior.
This isn't a post-apocalyptic Earth type of thing like that. This is just a junkyard out in space. So it's not like, oh man, this is the world destroyed and kind of stuff like that. It has a sense of it's just a huge collection of just metallic junk that's starting to come to life.
We're using the Unreal Engine to do all this, which has been really challenging.
So the storybook idea of making a video game is that you design everything from the ground up. From the first line of code, you're writing your game. The flip side is you have something like UDK, which has written huge amounts of that for you. We would have still probably been writing the physics and the asset imports if we didn't have something like UDK to manage all that for us. code that goes into play just to make things show up on screen, to make them behave in a physically accurate way. Those are places there's huge advantages of using an engine like UDK.
It gives the RTS a whole like kind of different feel on it. It's much more immersive, and we get the camera down in there a lot lower, so the player feels more like they're part of the world instead of just being sort of like an agent or godlike creator slash like controller of the world.
How to take this idea of being able to put pieces out there and have somebody assemble a robot that has its own unique personality and its own mind based upon the types of pieces that you put together to it.
One of the reasons we chose it was because there was so much code already there, and one of the reasons that it's been such a pain in the butt is because there's so much code already there that we need to dig through and understand how it actually works.
Right. Yeah, so you push everything out into the it'll be nice and easy.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Never quite as easy as you think.
Yeah, but the action, whenever you call action, then that's going to be like, it'll go to the subclass.
Yeah,
like,
figure
what
out
is
which
the
one.
action?
Yeah.
Slammed with the shield or something. And so each one of these items has to have animations for all those different combinations. So each tool needs 5 animations.
The animations themselves became quite a daunting task for us to tackle. For instance, let's say you have 5 tools. Each of those tools needs an idle, a hit state, a defense state, an attack state, and a move state. And so that's 5 animations per tool. You have 5 tools, that's 25 animations that need to get done just for the tools alone. And we roughly had 4 different categories of parts. So I would say we have well over 100 animations that needed to get done just for the robots.
We have a few different documents. One that's just an overall assignment sheet, one for animations, one for sound, and one that really breaks down the animations, like he was saying. Over 100 animations right now, and then just keep track of who did what and what still needs to be done. Those documents have been a lot of help for us.
Alloy consists of a lot of meetings, a lot of communication. We have a 40-person team, approximately. And it's really important that we all are in touch interpersonally, face-to-face, on a regular basis. There are weekly occurring lead meetings. There's also weekly occurring team meetings with all 4 sub-teams.
Friday meetings where the art team will come in and we'll just go over what everybody's working on. It'll be kind of a working meeting.
That I'm scheduling meetings and making myself available.
Sometimes the sound team goes on a little junkyard sesh.
We pretty much captured as much like crashing, like tracks in the dirt, anything that we could put into the game that we maybe wanted. Yeah.
We had one weekend where everybody was just set on only working on Alloy. So we were meeting here in the labs. On a Friday night we started, and then we ended on the following Sunday night. And that was probably one of the first times that we really had everybody just collaborating in here and just pumping out the work. And after that weekend, it was just kind of like our momentum really skyrocketed from there.
There are 5 students from the Capstone program who are getting credit for this game. There are a total of 40 students working on it, not getting credit, just coming out and being passionate about getting something done, something they're proud of. And they're here all the time. I walk into this lab and they're here. I leave the lab, I come back the next day, they're still here. Same clothes, drinking coffee, next door at the front here. Very passionate.
It takes time to be able to go down there and dig through the massive amounts of code that's already in place and be able to utilize that code to our fullest advantage to make the game as good as we possibly can.
Seeing people come together and support each other and grow and learn, that is what makes this project golden.
seeing how the game evolves and learning from our mistakes and figuring all that stuff out. It's been a really rewarding experience.
Yeah, favorite part.
My favorite part of Alloy has been, without a doubt, the people that I get to work with. I can say from the bottom of my heart that I am working with the most talented, intellectual, genius people I could possibly find at UNM, all through the interdisciplinary film and digital media program.
The thing that I've loved doing the most the project was really delving deep into getting a production pipeline in place and working with the students. It really challenges you to come up with creative solutions to any issues that they run into.
Crunch time. I like crunch time because there's really no room for you to do anything else except for work. There's no distractions, there's no time for anything except for the work ahead of you. So sink or swim, you just gotta keep going.
I would say my favorite part's just been hanging out with these students. It's just amazing to see how quickly they can grasp some of the concepts, and then be able to take that and be able to start working out things and building on top of that. And so every time I come to meet with the students, I come away learning something new myself.
The people, the team that I have to work with. And, I get to see a lot of it from behind the camera and capture all those amazing moments of breakthroughs and hardships and all this kind of stuff. And it's been a really, really enjoyable process for me to work with all these amazing people that I'm going to call my friends for the rest of my life.
My passion, animating. So, they are just big pieces of junk. So just being able to make them realistically look like they're rattling around as they're moving, kind of stuff like that. That's been really fun to work on.
Basically, it's just been exciting from A to Z, and it seems like more and more stuff keeps coming up for me to do, and everything that comes up I'm just really interested in.
It's been a pleasure to work on this project. I kind of came in as an outsider, and it's been awesome to work with another team that's talented and driven individuals. So.
You've got people working with code, you've got people working with art, you've got people working with game concepts, then we've got students working on a documentary, working on a website, learning how to produce. There's so many aspects going into this, and the students are doing all of it. The students are doing all of it.
I can't really choose a favorite part. I like all of it. I like everything from doing the concepts to building the characters, modeling, to creating the environment, to building the levels, and then all the coding, figuring out our architecture for the game, learning UDK, redoing everything because we learn new stuff about UDK, and then spending countless hours at night in this PC lab just hacking away with my friends. It's been really fun.
Alright, here we are, we're in the labs right now, okay? And we have a few programmers working on the Alloy game. And we're gonna get in close at one of these dirty bastards and we're gonna see what we can find out about them, alright? Follow me.
Hey, no vulgar language.
Alright, I don't want to disturb it, but it's right over there. Its usual habitat is in a PC lab behind a computer. You usually find one of these with a keyboard and a mouse right in front of them as they stare into these squares, yeah? I'm gonna get closer.
What are you doing? Seriously? Get out of my... Crikey!
That's alright. I startled it a bit, but we're fine now. And there it goes. Yeah, back into its bubble of comfort. Its comfort circle. So, alright, that's it for today's episode, so we'll catch you later, yeah?